this is how you use math in congressional debate. This is Sebastian Lloyd giving the narration on this. We're going to learn how to use math in something that I love, which is debate. First things first, I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on what congressional debate is. Typically, congressional debate is kind of like policy, and there's public forum, there's Lincoln Douglas. What makes congressional debate so unique, other than those, is that you're not necessarily competing on one team. You're more so competing for yourself. So that's what makes it so great, is you are by yourself, but yet you want to see your teammates succeed, even though you may be debating against one another. In congressional debate, you see that there's a pro and a con side on what you are saying. So you'll go up there and you'll speak on a pro, and then somebody else will go up and speak on a con, and then you'll question them, and then somebody else will go up there and they'll speak, and then you'll have that debate go on for a while, and then you'll decide it's time to move on to the next piece of legislation, and then you'll vote, and you'll do all of that. Typically the goal in congressional debate is to give quality speeches and to give lots of them. Now there's a lot of procedure that goes along with doing that, so the question is, how do you do it? And that's what we're actually going to get to later on in this video. Typically there are about 28 people in a room, which is quite a bit, everybody competing for a spot, and the spots that you would be competing for, and what I'm going to be really presenting to you is the idea of having the top two people going to nationals, which is a really tough thing to get to. So we're going to realize how you do that and how we can do that with mathematics. There's about 2 shots to get there. Earlier. Now, how do you win? How do you win congressional debate? Well, there's this thing called the agenda, and your agenda needs to be in your favor. And how you get the agenda in your favor is by doing a lot of politics, just like you would do in real Congress. And you want to put your legislation up towards the top and somewhere in the middle, so that we can get on your legislation and not have to worry about everyone else's. So at the point where you're giving more speeches on something that you know more about, and then you get an authorship speech. So having your legislation up towards the top is really good. So that's why you need numbers, and that's why numbers are so important. You want to at least give one speech in the first 2-hour session. That's a long time to only give one speech, but when there's 28 people in there competing, it's kind of hard to even get one speech in. So you want to make sure you at least get that first speech in the first 2 hours, and you want to give it on pretty quickly. That way you can be set up to give a speech much quicker in the next 2 sessions. So in the second session, you're sitting there, and you want to give 2 speeches. Now, why you're only giving 1 speech in the first 2 hours and 2 speeches in the second hour is because that in the second session, there's going to be some people that aren't going to give another speech. They're going to sit there, they're not going to do anything, they're going to wait till the end. What you need to do is you need to get that first speech done quickly, and then you're going to try to squeeze in that last one there at the end. And that's going to be a tough one to do, and that's what makes the debate so stressful. Now, you're trying to eliminate the competition in front of you, and how you can do that is by trying to make sure that they don't get 2 speeches in the second session. There's this thing called the speaker order, and you must have the people who haven't spoken, at least like as far as recency goes, if they've spoken in the first session but haven't spoken in the second session, now it's their time to give a speech in the second session. So it comes down to who was the last one to have spoken. So it really comes to where you have to do a lot of math and a lot of figuring of how can you actually do this. The concept of canceling people out is what we call a Daphne. Now, we call it a Daphne now because of this girl that we canceled out in this year's session of Congress. She was actually sitting in first place, and we were able to use mathematics in order to cancel her out. Was something that I was doing, was using math in order to cancel out Daphne Lynn, and she was sitting in first place, and me canceling her out took her from first place to 7th place because she wasn't able to give a speech in the second session. It's kind of dirty if you ask me, but we were able to send a couple of our kids to nationals because of it, so I don't feel bad at all. And yeah, that's exactly what I just told you. The mathematics behind it. Now, what you have to realize, there are 4 hours of debate. There's 28 competitors. 2 speeches per competitor is what you're looking at. 3 minutes per speech, 1 minute of cross-ex per speech, 6 pieces of legislation you're going to roughly get through. So that means 6 authorship speeches along with that, 2 minutes of cross-ex for an authorship and for the first con speech. So you're sitting here dealing with all of these numbers. Well, what does that mean? Like, what are we dealing with on that? Well, when you take 28 times 2, you take the 28 competitors times 2 for their speeches, and then you add 66 minutes, which is roughly going to be your cross-ex time. You get about 234 minutes on that. And then you're going to divide that by 60, and you're going to realize that that's 3 hours and 54 minutes that you're filling up right there. So that leaves you about 6 minutes of leeway, assuming that nothing else happens. But there's a lot of debate that goes on with the voting and not moving on to the previous question. So you're sitting here and realizing that 2 speeches is mathematically all you can get. But yet, in order to be competitive, you're going to need more than 2 speeches. So you're sitting here, and some people even got 4 speeches because of the way you're able to do it. I know one of my partners was able to get it, Darby Toth. She was able to get it because of the politicking that we were able to do, because somebody got 2 speeches in the first session, so getting her the couple of speeches was fairly easy to do since she had an authorship and she's the only one that's allowed to speak. So you have to really balance out your authorship speeches in order to propel yourself into being a good congressional debater. So yeah, you can really use the speaker order to get someone out of a speech or give someone a speech. I know I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get someone out of a speech, and if you can't get anyone else to stand up from another team, sometimes you have to get up there and give a speech on the fly. So that really becomes really tough, and sometimes the other competitors realize what you are doing, so it gets a little tough on that aspect. So you can see that that is going to be a major.
I'd like to thank you for watching. This was Congressional Debate and how you can use mathematics in doing so. So I hope now you can apply what I love with what you love, which is math, and see how my world goes. Thank you for watching.